Hello and welcome to Coffee with Ceri. I'm Ceri Griffiths. Some of you know me as Ceri the Crafter. And in this time slot, basically I grab a cup of coffee, and I choose a subject that may have reached my attention and I give my personal views on it, and absolutely just my personal views as I see it through social media or day-to-day interaction with people. It's something I do basically just to raise awareness of a topic, maybe bring it to the fore of your thought process. Maybe it's something that you'll have a conversation with someone else about. Just things. I steer away from certain topics because I don't have the right to speak on them, but things that influence me or are part of my general day-to-day being, I'm like, yeah, let's have a chat about that one. So let's have a look at my list. Right. The subject today is we should be willing to make mistakes. Now, I actually take this from the viewpoint of being an artist or a crafter, a cake decorator, a designer, someone who is creating something. And I think a lot of the time with creative people, and I hold my hand up because I have done this myself, we are so fixated on getting it right the first time that we don't actually do anything because we're scared of actually making a mistake. You could translate that into perfectionism also, in that you set yourself up for trying to be doing something perfectly, and the moment you start making a mistake, you think you failed and you don't do it again. And I know for many projects, I have watched a video, I've read a book, I've looked at stuff and gone, oh, I can do that, and I've had a go and it's not as easy as I thought and it's been a dire mess, and I've gone, oh, can't do that, and put it one side and never touched it again. And I know I have done that, and I know quite a few people have done that, and I think that we need to really understand that if you want to achieve something, it's not going to be an instant thing. You need to work at something to understand it, to fully be able to work within that medium, structure, design element. Wherever you're working, you need to work at it to get where you need to be. And also that journey is about discovering yourself and your own style. So I think it's really important that we don't think of a mistake as a failure, because a mistake isn't a failure. A mistake is a change in levels. It's a level of knowledge. It's a level of creativity. It's the fact that, oh, that was wrong. That was a wrong decision to do there. How do I correct it? How do I turn this round? Do I keep this mistake to one side and start again, knowing that I won't do that mistake again? I mean, a mistake is a stepping stone to success. That's where I'm trying to go with this. And I think it's really important that we all understand that mistakes are not failures. Mistakes are maybe viewed as a challenge to our way of thinking. There may be something that's put a block that made us go, oh, why didn't that work? It's an opportunity to analyse why something didn't work. It's the opportunity to turn something around. I mean, I work in art journals, I work in creative fields, I design stuff, everything from cake all the way through to art. And there are definitely times when I get stuff and I'll stick something down or I'll paint a colour on and I'm like, that was a mistake, wasn't it? At that point, I usually stop. I'll take a bit of a 5-minute break and go, right, okay, I don't want to do a knee-jerk reaction. I don't want to instantly go, oh, that's it, it's done, I can't do this anymore. I usually take a break. I'll either go out of the room or I'll do something else just for a couple of minutes. I'll come back and look at the mistake and go, right, how do I rectify that? What has that taught me? Now, I don't actually say that to myself, but that's how my brain is working. And I'll look at it and go, right, can I undo the mistake, which is usually my first reaction. If it's involving paint, it's usually maybe not. If it's working as a designer and I'm working with pen and paper, pencil and paper, if I'm working electronically, I can click undo buttons. I can get an eraser out and erase something off. If I'm actually working on a physical something, then of course I can't just undo that. There's going to be consequences, because if I try to undo the mistake, I could then damage what's underneath it, or what it's next to, or what's surrounding it. So it's a platform for me to build my knowledge on, to how do I rectify this. Now, when I was going through cake decoration training and design many years ago, gosh, back in the 80s, there you go, that's when I was doing my bakery training, something that stuck with me from one of my cake decorating tutors, bear with me, she would always say that if you made a mistake on a wedding cake or a cake or anything that was edible, say, because that's what I was learning at the time, if you make a mistake and you can't rectify the mistake, then make the mistake a feature. So if you can't hide it, feature it. Do something with it. Now, the thing is, the moment you try and hide a mistake within, say, a cake or a piece of art, the viewer will eventually find that mistake. Not that they're looking for it, but when they look at the overall aesthetic of what you've created, their eye will be drawn to something that doesn't quite work with the rest of the image you've done. Now, there are techniques I've seen other people do and artists do. They'll be doing a piece of art, they'll maybe drop a paintbrush and there'll be a splash of colour in one corner and it was not meant to be there. A common trick to do is put another couple of splashes of colour around it somewhere, and then it looks like a design element. So don't be frightened of making a mistake, and actually leaving mistakes in can sometimes make your piece of work so much more interesting. I, as you probably know, struggle with perfectionism, and I really do now just strive for excellence, and I've tried to put into my brain that perfectionism is not start that one again. Perfection is not achievable, and if I was to achieve it, where would I go beyond perfection? There is nothing bigger than perfection. So going for excellence is my goal in nearly everything I do. But if there was a mistake on a piece of art many years ago that I was working on, I would then throw that whole piece of art out, because I'm like, well, it's not perfect, it's not right, I can't let anyone see that. And I feel a lot of us carry that in our minds when we create. And I think we have to accept that there are going to be things that go wrong. There are going to be mistakes. And I feel that I now try to embrace those mistakes. I use them as challenges. And I very often have done some of my best work by going, oh, bottom, I messed that one up and I now need to cover it with something, or I need to change it in some way. I need to add something that will balance that out, or it's completely steered me in a new direction with a piece of art or a journal that I've been doing or something. And I've gone, why didn't I do that the first time? So it's very good. A mistake will push you out of your normal safety zone. I try to embrace them. I like them. I like the fact that I'll suddenly have to rectify the mistake. I'll have to conceal the mistake. I'll have to feature the mistake. At the end of the day, I just keep pushing through. There are times when I've pushed through and I've ended up looking at my piecing on, you know, that is absolute rubbish. I take that piece of work, I will put it to one side. I usually put it in a drawer or a cupboard or something like that, out of sight, because it will niggle at me. It will keep reminding me that I haven't done it, I haven't finished it. But what I'll do then is maybe a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year. I'll come across that piece of art. I'll come across that thing I was creating, unless it's food, of course, because I wouldn't put that by for a year. And in the interim time, I myself have developed and moved on in different ways. And I may then look at that piece of art and go, you know what, that just needs this. Or if I do this with it, do you see what I mean? So don't be too quick to throw things in the trash or the rubbish or the bin. Allow yourself to make mistakes. They're part of growing. It's like whenever you find yourself struggling within the creative world, that struggle isn't isn't something that's against you. Basically, it's you pushing beyond what you're normally used to doing, and you're beginning to raise the bar a little bit on yourself. So I tend to use things that I struggle with as stepping stones to the next level in my creativity. And I feel a lot of us need to be a lot more kind with ourselves about how brutal we can be about our own creativity, our own artwork, our own journals, our own photography, our own cake decoration. We only look at the mistakes. We don't look at the glory that we've created. So guys, grab a cup of coffee, grab a chalky biscuit, and the next time you hit something you regard as a mistake, put it to one side for a few minutes, then go back to it. Don't get all emotional about it. Just literally think it through, and if you can't solve it, put it to one side. Come back to it later. You'll find a solution eventually. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Just a quick little chat. Until next time. Bye-bye now.